And good evening. Welcome once again to Branco Broadcast. My name is Bob Branco. We're very pleased to have back with us Roger Cicchese. And welcome to the program, Roger. You're going to be discussing another topic of interest this evening, other than the original topic you spoke of a year ago about voices of experience. This is something else. So without further ado, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Bob. And I've been really enjoying my conversation before the show began with all your wonderful listeners. I feel, I was feeling a little grumpy earlier, but your listeners got me in a great mood. So I'll just say that a year and a half ago when I visited with you guys, I talked about the recording studio that I'm involved with. Tonight, I will tell you that for the past 6 years, I'm one of these guys that usually has several kinds of things going on in my life at the same time, because I hate to get bored, so I like to be involved in lots of interesting and different stuff. So about 6 years ago, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, complaining as I sometimes do. I know none of you folks ever do that, but I do occasionally. And I was complaining about the high cost of Braille and talking technology. Things like Braille and Speaks, Type and Speaks, PackMates, the kind of stuff I'm talking about. And how unbelievably expensive it is. And unless a person comes from a wealthy family or is lucky enough to have some benefactor who leaves them money, or happens to be in good with an agency, or happens to be a college student, maybe, or possibly happens to have a job and a very open-minded employer, if a person isn't in one of those categories and they have a desire for or need for some piece of access technology like the kind of things I mentioned and some things I haven't, they're out of luck because the cost of this stuff is prohibitive. And as a result, many folks who could and would really benefit from having some of these items are just out of the loop. You're just out of luck. And it's always bothered me. I'll admit I have found ways, in various ways over the years, to acquire some of these things for myself, but the truth is there have been some situations where it just wasn't possible. I've had a few friends that had the idea that I was wealthy and could buy whatever I wanted whenever I wanted. I wish that were true, but it isn't. And it never has been. There have been times in my life when I've been better off financially, but never in a position to write out a check and just get what I wanted no matter the cost. So here's the point of this. I was complaining to my friend about the high cost. And he said, so what do you want to do about it? When I was growing up, my dad used to have this expression when people would complain. He used to say, you're either part of the problem or part of the solution. And if you're not willing to try to come up with a solution to a problem, then you really don't have a right to complain. I'm not sure I totally agreed with him then, but I sort of agree with him. So my friend said, so what would you like to do about it? I said, I see only two solutions. One is to beat up the companies that make this stuff and try to embarrass them into the point of lowering their prices. And he just burst out laughing. He said, yeah, right, that's really going to happen. I said, well, there is maybe one other solution. He said, what's that? I said, if I could get together with a highly skilled technician who also was in a position to spend some time and maybe not make very much money to help me gather old, broken, and worn-out pieces of technology from the 80s and 90s, and maybe a little more recently, and refurbish this stuff, and then resell it at ridiculously low prices compared to what it's sold for new, a lot more people might be able to afford to buy some of these things. Yes, it would still involve money, but not thousands of dollars. Maybe hundreds, but not thousands. So he said, wow, that's a really interesting idea. How much of a market do you think there would be? Well, at the time, I knew there was a pretty good market, but honestly, I didn't know how big it was. We'll make a long story short. He and I sat down, and we kind of worked out a rough plan. And we decided to try to see if we could acquire a few devices and do a bit of testing. First of all, see if we could repair some broken things and make them new again, and then do a little hunting around and see if we could sell them, just to see what the demand was. Well, it's now 6 years later, and we have bought, repaired, and sold hundreds of Braille and talking devices all over the country and in a number of countries outside the United States. We keep an inventory of items that varies from day to day, week to week, month to month. Things come in, we get a hold of them in various ways, which, if you need to know more about that, I can talk about it later. We repair them, refurbish them, sometimes adding accessories or replacing parts when they can be replaced. We get them in good working order and usually in good cosmetic condition as well, so they look decent. And then we advertise them in various ways and promote them and sell them, usually for, 50 to 80% off of their original price, usually more like 60 to 80%, sometimes as much as 90% off their original price. Let me give you a couple of examples so you know what I'm talking about. When the Braille and Speak 2000, which was the last version of the Braille and Speak that was ever manufactured by Freedom Scientific, was being sold, its last price was $1,500 for a new one. They stopped making it some years ago, and they stopped servicing it a few years ago. We sell refurbished ones for $200 now. There's a portable, totally accessible CD recorder made by a company called Plextor. It's a very unusual item, and it's the only item of its kind that's ever been made. It still sells for $900 new, which is more than the cost of a computer. We sell them for between $300 and $350. Take something like a PackMate Omni. Some of you may be familiar with that product. Up until recently, that product with a 40-cell Braille display was selling for almost $4,000. We've been selling them for $1,100. Like I said, they're not free, but they're much, much less expensive than anything else you can buy. We're not in it to make much money. We barely cover the costs of repair, service, marketing, promotion, so forth. It's quite time-consuming because we have to do a lot to let people know about what we're up to. And I will tell you the truth. Once in a while, we make a sale, and somebody decides once they get it that it isn't quite what they wanted, or they had to discover that it was more of a learning curve to learn how to use the device than they thought, and sometimes that happens, and maybe they haven't done their homework too well before they bought it, and they've returned it. Of all of the units of various types that we've sold over the last 6 years, I'm aware of only 3 that have been returned because they were defective. Nothing is 100%. But, we don't yell at people. We don't criticize people. We don't condemn people. If there's a real problem, in fact, I will tell you the truth. I have one example of that today. We sold somebody a Braille and Speak 2000 about 3 months ago, and she's called me today and said she was having a problem with it. I talked her through a couple of things that fixed the problem, but she's had the problem a couple of other times, and I said, you know what? Let's not fool around with this. Send me that machine and I'll replace it. So, we're pretty reasonable to deal with. We don't promise you the moon, but we do promise a quality product, and we send you stuff that works, and usually we'll keep on working. The one thing I need to say is much of this technology is old. That's why we call it legacy. It's not, the stuff that's just come off the production line in the last couple of weeks. So everything, no matter what it is, has a life expectancy. And it's remarkable to me how long and how much life some of these devices actually have in them. And I don't know about some of you folks, but I got my first Braille and Speak in 1989. And in 2009, it was still working, 20 years later. That's almost unheard of for general consumer items. But the truth is, most of us blind folks can't go out and buy a new one every time something new comes out. We'd like to, but most of us can't. And my feeling is, okay, I can complain and complain and complain, but I decided it was time to do something about it. So that's what this project is all about, and we do our best to try to meet people's needs. We don't provide endless amounts of training when someone buys something. We hope that, you know, they know about the basics, or they're willing to take time to read a manual that may come with the device. But we answer basic questions if someone has a question or two. And obviously, if someone makes a purchase and it fails and it can't be easily remedied, we usually try to replace the product if it comes to that. As I said, I only know of 3 examples in the last 6 years where that's happened. Or, in one case, when a product failed and someone really didn't want to deal with the hassle of it, they requested and received a refund. So, you know, it's not a perfect world and it's not a perfect system, but we do the best we can because we think that the customers are buying this technology because they want to be part of the technology age, and they want to use things they're familiar with or that they've heard about, and they don't have endless amounts of money to just go out and buy anything they hear about. So we try to make it a reasonable arrangement for everybody. So that's kind of what I'm up to. As I said, this project's been running for 6 years. We promote it in various places. Some of you who read Consumer Vision, I think, might have read about what we're up to there. We do advertise on eBay. We advertise in the I think it's called Buy, Swap, Trade. Let's see. Blind Mice Mart is another place where we advertise. And I usually invite people to call. If they see an ad, I usually will put in the phone number and say, if you have questions, call me. And I like email, but I like phone calls better because it's instant and we can really have a good rapport back and forth. And a lot of times people do have questions, or they're trying to figure out what would suit their needs the best. Someone may start out thinking they need a Braille Note Apex, when in reality what they really need is a PackMate, so they could, because they want to be able to remove the Braille display. And the PackMates are the only devices you can do that with. So there's always dialogue back and forth. I enjoy that. I talk with people every day all over the country, men and women, young and old. The last device I sold was a VoiceSense. Some people know what that is. It's kind of like the closest thing to a Braille and Speak. It was made by HIMS, a company some of you may be familiar with. I sold one last week to a man who's 83. So people of all ages are getting this stuff, and they're working with it, and I'm glad that we're meeting a need and fulfilling, questions and problems that people have in providing at least one fairly reasonable solution. I have had Lions Clubs pay for stuff, and sometimes when they check us out and they find out what we're up to and realize they're dealing with someone reputable who's been at this for a number of years and someone who also uses the technology, that helps a lot. So at this point, I will just say, before I ask if anyone has any questions, the best way, if you're interested in knowing details, you can call me at 603-827-3859. That's 603-827-3859. And any of you who have good memories will probably recall that's the same number for the recording studio. And there's no coincidence in that. I'm in and out of the studio frequently, and it's one place I can be reached. The other thing is, if you don't want to call or it's not convenient, you can send an email. You can send me an email to the following email address. It's a real easy one to remember. It's easier than the phone number, actually. And the email address is the number 1 nation under sound, 1 nation under sound at gmail.com. And the 1 is just the number 1. No number sign, no capital letters, no spaces between the words. 1 nation under sound. And of course, you probably guessed that email address has to do with the fact that I'm involved in recording work. But it's also an easy one to remember. So you can always email or call, and I can tell you at any point what we have available and prices on items and how to get them. At this point, I'm going to turn it back to Bob since he's the moderator and he does such a great job at it, and let him figure out from here how we should proceed.
Roger, why don't I start off with my own question
Sure.
and ask you, is there a catalog of what you sell?
Not exactly. And the reason is that the inventory changes so frequently that if I sent you something today, and I could send you a price list, but if I send it to you, by tomorrow or the next day, some item that's on there may have disappeared. For instance, one of our most popular items is the Franklin Language Master LN6000 talking dictionaries. They still sell that product for $500. We usually sell them for $150. And almost as fast as we get them and restore them or repair them, they're gone. Everybody seems to want them. The same thing with the EL640 talking clocks, the wonderful talking clocks that Sharp used to make years ago. I'm sure many of you probably still have them. We're always looking for them if somebody has any to get rid of, and people are always looking to buy them. So that's why some products come and go so fast that if I quote you a price and you say, oh, yeah, that's great, I want to get one of those, chances are pretty good it might be gone. So that's why I say if you're interested in something in particular, call me and say, hey, do you guys have any of those? It's easier that way, or send me an email. Is that helpful, Bob?
Yes, it is. Thank you, Roger.
I'm thinking maybe now might be a time for other questions that people might have.
Yeah, Roger, this is Steve. Do you deal with older iPhone models?
We haven't done anything with iPhones up until now. I'm not saying we won't or that we will, but people are beginning to ask us about older iPhones. And the problem with iPhones is because they require activation through a provider, and we tend not to want to get involved in that particularly, or some phones have been, unlocked or jailbroken, so they'll do certain things, and sometimes that makes it awkward when you're trying to hook up with a provider, and sometimes it doesn't. So at this point, at least, we've been steering away from iPhones, or I should say not just iPhones, but smartphones in general. There may come a time, because people are starting to ask about iPods and iPads now. So, and in fact, recently, one of the Surface, what do you call them? One of the Surface tablets, a Surface 3, came to us, and almost as soon as we got it, it went out. Usually our customers are blind or visually impaired. Sometimes they're not. We sold a Brailler to a school teacher who was sighted but wanted to work with some blind students.
How much you sell the old Perkins Braillers too, if you get them?
But yes, we do. In fact, right now we have one Brailler, but it's not a regular Perkins Brailler. It's a large cell Perkins Brailler.
Okay. How much on average are your Braillers, the Perkins Braillers, when you have them?
Roughly around $350. I can't tell you exactly, but around $350. A lot depends on age and condition and how much work we've had to do on them. I'd say generally between $300 and $400. I will mention, I need to tell you this. Every product we sell, the price includes shipping. We don't charge extra for shipping as long as it's in the United States.
And is that Sharp clock, is that the Cube?
No, it's not. It's a clock that was originally released in 1982. It's rectangular. It has a digital display across the top. It has one button in the upper right-hand corner in the front when you stand it up on edge, and it has a compartment in the back where you lift the door, and it's got several buttons underneath it for setting the time and alarms. The reason this clock is popular, I mean, there might be a lot of reasons, but the main
those are good clocks.
You can time things to the second with this clock, and very few talking clocks allow that.
Yeah, I remember those clocks. Those are great.
Yeah, they are, and they're hard to find, particularly ones that are working.
Yeah.
But if anybody has one and doesn't want it anymore or wants to get rid of it, you should let me know, because we have a pretty good demand for those. And other timing devices as well. Braille stopwatches. We sold a Braille TTY a few months ago to somebody who'd been scouring the country looking for one. And they're hard to find, particularly in working condition, but we got one, and she was very happy that this deaf-blind woman now has two of them. So
thanks.
stuff comes and goes.
Yep.
Any other questions about any products or things that people might be on the lookout for?
Yes, I have a question, Roger.
Yes.
This is Karen.
Hi, Karen.
I got a little bit of cold, so that's why I sound like I do. But anyway.
Well, you always sound great, so what's your question?
My question is this. Do you have any of the older 4-track tape machines?
You mean like the NLS ones?
Not the NLS ones, APH or any of those?
I had two of them.
Brands? Yeah,
I had
brands that made them.
The only ones that I would be interested in, because most of them are honestly don't stand up to a lot of use. The APH ones were pretty good, and when I can get them and we can repair them, I like those. And when we can get them, there's always a demand for them. And the other one is the old NLS players. And when we can get those and they're in good working condition, or we can put them in good working condition, here's the problem that all tape machines have. Usually the motors don't burn out. Sometimes battery packs die, and sometimes we can rebuild them and sometimes not. But what typically goes wrong with tape machines, whether they're cassette or reel-to-reel, is there are a lot of rubber parts, wheels and belts inside of these machines. And over time, they wear out. And unfortunately, some of them are not like generic parts. They're specially made for that machine. And if you can't get another machine with the same parts in it, and we get a lot of stuff that's totally unfixable, but we use them for parts. We can rob parts from old machines and sometimes make one good one out of 3 bad ones. Unfortunately, the rubber parts in some of these machines are impossible to get. Sometimes we strike it lucky. So the APH machines and the NLS machines, when we can get them in good working order or put one in good working order, we would sell them. Right now we don't have any, and we haven't had any for a while. But if it's something you're interested in, we'll certainly keep on the lookout for one.
Well, not right now, but another kind of talking clock that was out, and I happen to have one of them, and I have one that doesn't work, but it's a talking time. It was the one that has the calculated clock and calendar.
Was that the one from Sharp?
Oh, yes.
It's rectangular, and it has a little slide switch in the front.
Yep.
I actually was talking with somebody tonight who is probably, I'm hoping, going to make one available to us. He has one that doesn't work, and I have several people looking for them, and I'm one of those people. I'm looking for one myself.
Well, I have one that doesn't work that maybe I can, send to you or something because.
You ought to send it to us. We might be able to get it.
I could make it work no matter what I did.
Well, that's where we're in the business of taking stuff apart, and sometimes we can fix them, and sometimes we can't. I always tell people, if you have any broken technology that doesn't work anymore and it's of no further use to you, if it's Braille or talking technology, send it to me. It's not doing you any good. Maybe we can fix it, or maybe we can use parts from it to fix something else. So we're always open to stuff that somebody might be able to use if we can fix it. And so we're always grateful for we're not asking anybody for money. We're just always happy to get contributions of old, broken or not broken technology that somebody may no longer need or want. They may have upgraded to something better, and they've got something now they're not using. And maybe we can make it usable for somebody else who doesn't have the funds to buy something more expensive. We do a lot of that. So your machine, Karen, if you can't get it to work, send it to me. And if we can fix it.
Clock. The machine is fine. The tape machine I got is an old NLS. It's an NLS player.
I'd love to know what the library did with all those thousands of cassette players. I had suggested to somebody that they find some group that might be willing to work on them and get some of them in good working order and send them overseas.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But I have no idea. No one's ever spoken about it because I think I know what's become of them. And it just breaks my heart to say it out loud, so I won't. But I have two of the old ones, and they're still working, and I have to tell you, I still use them. But they're eventually going to die, and I may not be able to fix them. And I have access to machines and equipment that not everybody does, but still, eventually things die, and sometimes you just can't replace them.
Do you have old... I'm sorry if I interrupt. Do you have old... I'm looking for a good old-fashioned talking scientific calculator. I mean, the new calculators that just aren't up to speed with it had everything on them. I
am aware of only one talking scientific calculator. Well, actually, there's two, but there's really only one that you occasionally see, and it's the one that Blazy Engineering sold for a while. Do you know that one?
Yeah, I remember that from you. Yeah.
And it sold for around $600. The truth is, most devices, if you can get them, like the last version of the Braille and Speak, the Voice Sense, the Voice Note, and a few other devices usually include pretty good scientific calculators that aren't too hard to use. But the only other one I know of, and I've only ever seen one of them over the years, is the one that used to be available from, well, it was called Science Products for the Blind, but they've changed their name and they do different stuff now. But for a while, they also had a talking scientific calculator. But the one you're most likely to get is the only one I know of that sometimes comes around, and that's the one that Freedom Scientific or Blazy Engineering used to make. And I recently heard about one that I might be able to get my hands on. We don't have any currently, but I occasionally get requests for that. And you don't see them available very often. But occasionally they come around, and I did get some information the other day about one that I can try to track down for you, without you having to make any commitments, of course, but right. I'll check into that.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. Because I've seen some of these talking calculators, but they're just like too basic for what I want.
Right. Well, you need the sine, cosines, and tangents and other kinds of things, and that's the scientific realm or the more advanced math realm. And unless you can get your hands on one of those calculators, or like I said, a Braille and Speak 2000 will do most of those things, and we do have access to those.
Well, that's
and they're only $200. So you can get your scientific calculator with a note taker thrown in for no extra cost.
Yeah, it'll keep my Braille skills up that way too.
Exactly. Well, you ought to get in touch with me at the numbers I gave or the email address, and we can talk about that.
Definitely. Thanks.
We also usually try to provide manuals with any devices we sell. Sometimes the manuals are audio, and sometimes they have to be played on a computer because they're on CD and they're computer files. But we try very hard to include whatever material we can get our hands on, so that if a person buys something, they have something to go by.
Roger, you're doing a great job.
When possible, we'll try to get the old cassette manuals, if they were ever recorded for a device, and I've started to convert some of them to CDs. The manual for the Type and Speak, for example, I just converted from 2 slow-speed 4-track cassettes to 9 audio CDs. So, we do that sort of thing because a lot of people don't have cassette players that work anymore. So we try to, accommodate whenever we can.
Roger?
Yes.
This is Lauren. I have a talking microwave that doesn't work anymore. Would you be able to take parts from that?
Which one is it? Is it the Sharp? Or the,
I don't know.
There's another company made them too. Yeah, we might be able to. Where are you located, Lauren?
I'm in New Jersey.
We should talk offline, about that. That's something we might want to take a look at.
Okay.
I mean, what part of it doesn't work, or does none of it work?
It pretty much was, so it was old and it was starting to maybe it would have caused a fire, there was stuff in it that wasn't good. So we just, I just stopped using it and bought a new one.
Well,
and now I didn't buy another talking one. I bought a regular one, and now I just have it, it's digital, so now I just have it marked.
Sure. I just got a microwave oven myself, and I had to mark the panel because the trouble with the talking ones, and I guess there is one that's still around, but they're very small, the one that I know about, and you can't put anything too large in it.
Mine was able to do that. It has very high power. It really did. It was pretty good. I had gotten it from Ann Morris years ago.
Oh, I remember Ann Morris, yeah. Well, let's talk about that offline, because maybe that's something that we might want to look at, because it's an item that we get requests for from time to time, and none have come into our possession until now, and it would be kind of nice to have one to look at to see if we could recover it or maybe have something to work with, and, eventually maybe get 2 or 3 broken ones and make one good one out of it. We often do that with stuff.
Uh-huh. Okay, well, your email is very easy, so
onenationundersound@gmail.com. Be in touch with me, Lauren, and we'll talk about it.
Okay, you said onenationundersound@gmail.com?
That's right, and it's the number 1. No number sign, not the word 1. It's just the number 1.
Okay, I will send you an email, and then maybe you can send me your phone number.
Yeah, please do that. Other questions or curiosities about any products or anything that someone might be looking for that you just haven't been able to find, and who knows, it might be something we have or know about.
Roger, what forms of payment does your company accept?
We accept personal checks, bank teller's checks, I guess you call them certified checks. We accept money orders. We accept PayPal, credit cards. About the only thing we generally don't accept, because it usually comes through the mail, is cash. But if you were to show up in person and wanted to pay for something with cash, we do still take that occasionally too.
And what is the name of the company itself?
You would probably make out the check if it's a check to Voices of Experience, the same company that does the recording studio. If you were to see our brochure and go to our website, you would discover something interesting. Voices of Experience, although it's primarily a recording studio, is doing affiliated work in the areas of education, accessibility, communications, and entertainment. So we cover a wide variety of areas that are all kind of related.
So what's your website?
What is the URL?
The website is Voices of Experience, and the word experience begins with an X, not an E.
Okay.
VoicesOfExperience.com.
Okay.
And it's a fairly accessible website, and we do have not only our brochure, but also some audio clips, so you get some examples of some of the projects we've worked on, although I'm about ready to start adding some new material to the website.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So you'll enjoy that if you have a chance to check it out.
Roger, this is Lauren again. I know this might sound like a stupid question, but what does the Braille and Speak do?
A Braille and Speak is the first note taker that was ever created as a very elegant and simple device so that a blind person or partially sighted person could have a Perkins-style keyboard, could enter letters, numbers, anything that you would write on a brailer or a braille writer, let's say. It could be saved in the device's memory. You could edit files. You could create lists, names and address lists, recipes, any kind of thing you'd want to write about and save and refer to later. It could also be used with external devices like an external disk drive to save or back up files. It could be connected to a computer and used as a speech synthesizer. Files could be transferred between it and a computer. It could be used with a braille embosser or a printer, so you could create correspondence on the device that would be very accessible, and then connect a printer up to it and print it out and send it out in the mail to somebody and be very confident about the quality of what you were producing. So that's sort of what it is. There are much more modern note takers now that do all kinds of stuff that the Braille and Speak doesn't do, but there's nothing currently available that's really simple and easy like the Braille and Speak was for the years that it was available, and there's certainly nothing out there in that price range. Even today, the least expensive Braille note taker that you can buy right now that I'm aware of is still over $2,000 new.
Very expensive.
Because I just became the new president of our state American Council of the Blind, and that might be something that would be useful to me.
Well, especially for the prices that we offer them.
Right.
I mean, $1,500 or $2,000 is a lot of money, but a couple of $100 on a device that really would probably meet your needs very well, you might be able to manage that.
Yeah.
So it's something to think about. And again, if you have access to a computer, and even if you don't, if you know someone who does, you can probably still go on the Freedom Scientific website and look up the manual to that device before you would ever spend any money and get an idea of what it can do.
Okay.
So that way, you're not buying something without having knowledge about its capabilities and whether or not it would meet your needs. But lots of people still use them, Lauren. I bet there are some people on this line tonight that still use them.
Do you sell Victor
anyone
Streams?
saying, "Oh yeah, I use one," but I bet there's somebody out there who does.
Uh-huh.
I still use.
Do you sell Victor Streams? Do you ever come across those?
Wait a minute. I think I lost you. What did you say?
Do you have Victor Streams from time to time?
Yes, we do. In fact, about 2 months ago, we sold a first-generation Victor Stream. And last week, it's good you should actually have brought this up. Last week, we sold a competitive product called the BookSense.
Oh, yeah.
That, yeah.
It was the BookSense XT because it would allow you to download books from the online like the second generation Victor Reader does. So yeah, we get those from time to time, and believe me, when we get them, they go fast because we sell them for a lot less money than a similar new product would cost.
Yeah, they're expensive as new, so yeah.
They are. Yeah. I think the BookSense. Give me a second. I think the BookSense XT sold for $269 last week. And I think when it was still being sold, I could be wrong about this, but I think it was close to $500 new.
Yeah.
So, somebody got a good deal. And we do occasionally get them. Although I will admit, most of the ones that we get are the first generation ones because everybody wants the newer one, and, I can understand why.
What's the difference?
Don't have $300 to buy a new one. I think they're $329 or $369 for a new one. If you could get a first generation one for half that or less than half that, they still work pretty well.
What's the difference between the first and second generation?
There's too many things for me to list.
Oh, okay. I'll check that online.
Well, the two biggest differences is that the second generation one is about half the size of the first generation. And the second generation is a lot louder, has more volume than the first generation. But if you use earphones, it doesn't really matter. Those are two of the biggest differences. The other big difference is that the second generation one allows you to go online and download books from Bard if you use Bard.
Okay.
There are other differences, but those are three of the biggest ones. Is there anybody online who has one?
I do.
Did I describe that fairly accurately?
Yes, you did.
Okay. Because I don't own one. I'm trying to save up to buy the Blaze ET, and that's a much more expensive and much more sophisticated piece of technology because it includes scanning and reading technology that you can hold in your hand.
How much does that go for?
It's around $850.
That would be
I think it's worth it, so I'm saving up for it.
Yeah.
And we don't have any of those. Believe me, if we did, I'd be telling you about it. But I wouldn't be surprised if one comes along. People are funny, Sometimes they buy stuff, and it's more than they bargained for, and it's more sophisticated than they really needed. And sometimes they realize it, and they keep it for a couple of months and sell it. So, you never know. You just never know.
Now, how does that work if, I had something I didn't want? Do you pay the person, or do they donate that to you?
It works in both ways. You could donate it. Occasionally people donate stuff to us, even if it works. Sometimes they'll say, hey, look, I got this item, and I don't really need it anymore, but I'm not really totally comfortable just giving it away. And I'll ask you about it. Sometimes I'll say, if you feel comfortable with this, I'll say, look, send it to me so I can evaluate it and hands-on and make you an offer. Or sometimes, if I know you and I've dealt with you before and we have a comfortable relationship and you've got an item and you can accurately describe its condition, I might say, here's what I think I could offer you. Or you might say, here's what I think I need to get for it. Right. And if we can afford it, we'll buy it. If we can't, we might say, well, you wanted $300, but the best I can do is $180 or something. And we might negotiate back and forth. We almost always buy with the idea of reselling. And when we do that, we're not as interested in making a lot of money as we are in simply covering our costs of doing business and keeping the price low enough so that, it's still pretty reasonable. Obviously, if we have to buy something and then work on it and add things to it and clean it up and reset things and, do various stuff and then promote it, there's time involved in that and sometimes real, hours of time, which is, money per hour. And sometimes there are items that need to be replaced or fixed or missing cable or that sort of thing. And, we have to try to bring those things as close to new as we can. So sometimes we can do better at that than at other times. But our agenda is, if you have something you don't want and you want to sell it, we may offer you a very low price, and it's not to insult you. It's to let you know that we're going to resell it for a low price to somebody else.
Do you ever
Just so you understand, because we occasionally had a problem where someone had something and they wanted to sell it to us. And it was a good thing, something that could be used. And we said, well, this is what we can offer you for it. And they were very angry. And they said, that's insulting, or that's worth more than that. And I'd say, you're probably right. It probably is worth more than that to you. And maybe you should sell it at that price. Or let us give you what we can afford to give you, because we're going to turn around and resell it. If I pay your price, I can't sell it for anything more than that. In fact, I'll probably have to sell it for less, and we'll then take a loss. And that defeats the purpose of what we're trying to do. So
do you ever
bear that in mind. We're not interested in insulting, hurting anyone's feelings.
Right. Do you ever repair things, like have someone say, I have something that doesn't work?
We do when we can. Let me give you an example. Recently, let me see, what's a good example? Right now, I guess I'm stuck in the Braille and Speak mode because we get so many requests for them.
Yeah.
And somebody said, look, I've got 2 Braille and Speaks, but one of them doesn't work, and I really like it. Do you think you could fix it? So I said, well, send it to me. I'll check it out, see if I can figure out what's wrong with it, unless you can tell me.
Yeah.
And if I can fix it, I will. Let me just tell you something. The most common problem with Braille and Speaks, unless you've dunked it in the river or something, and we did have a customer who did that, most common problem with Braille and Speaks is dead battery packs.
Yeah.
And dead backup batteries. They're called CMOS batteries.
Oh, yeah.
And we do replace those. We rebuild the battery packs because you can't buy them anymore. But we rebuild them. And we get these replacement CMOS batteries which have to be soldered into the machines. And we replace those. 9 times out of 10, that's what's wrong with a Braille and Speak that doesn't work, or it works but it doesn't hold things in memory anymore.
Yeah. I have a situation. I have an iPod Touch. The microphone died.
Yeah.
The batteries don't hold their charge, and Apple wants to charge me almost as much to repair it as to buy a new one.
Which iPod Touch is it? What generation?
I think it's the 6 something.
The 6th is the most recent generation.
Maybe I got it in 2014 as a new, so I don't really. Maybe I'm wrong about the model. But
probably is. If you got it in 2014, it probably is the 6th generation.
But I was like 2 years. It wasn't even 2 years.
How much memory does it have?
It has 16.
So that's the smallest amount of memory. Yeah, I think I'm not even sure you can buy a 6th generation iPod Touch 16 gigabytes anymore, but if you could, it'd probably be around $200 or so.
Yeah.
And you know what?
Yeah.
At price, you might as well buy a new one. We can't fix iPods. I have taken a couple apart to see what was inside of them, and the way that Apple makes them, if you take them apart, they're never going back together again.
Yeah, I kind of suspected that.
Tell you that, but they make them to work, and when they die, if they die, unless you have an extended warranty, which I highly recommend on those products, when it goes, if something happens, unless it's the battery, you're kind of out of luck.
So you're not covered on the battery anyway, right?
No, but what I'm saying is, if the battery goes on those devices, those batteries should last at least 5 years.
Yeah, well.
You rarely hear about the batteries dying. They occasionally do, but they don't often die. Yeah. And I have heard of situations where Apple has they don't replace the battery, they replace the device. But other than that, I recommend that if you get a device like an iPod, particularly because you're going to be taking it everywhere and using it everywhere, get the extended warranty. On some products, that's just a racket. But on iPhones and iPods and even iPads, I strongly encourage people to get the extended warranties because, boy, it's very expensive to replace them or get them fixed.
Yeah, I know.
And the extended warranties are not horribly expensive. Yeah, they're a little steep, but they're a lot cheaper than buying a new one.
Well, I wish I'd known that the first time around.
Well, unfortunately, a lot of us have to learn from unpleasant experiences.
Oh, yeah.
I've had a few of them myself. Any other questions that anybody has, or is there something I didn't cover that you want to know more about?
Yes, Roger.
Yes.
Don Bowden here. I stayed longer than I was going to, but your subject was so fascinating.
Oh, well, thank you. I'll take that as a compliment, Don. Thank you very much.
Yes, it really was.
Is there something I could help you with or answer for you?
Yeah, maybe both. I had a talking clock many, many years ago. I bought it from the Mass Association for the Blind.
Yeah, I remember they used to have that store over in Brookline, right?
Yeah, well, I live in Worcester, and they used to have a store here in Worcester many, many years ago.
Okay.
The name of the clock was Spartus.
I think you said the magic word, Don. I know why.
Why?
I bet your Spartus either you don't have it anymore or it broke and you can't get it fixed and you're wondering if there's ever a way to get another one. Is that what you're wondering?
No, actually, no. No, I was just wondering if you ever heard of that brand name.
Not only have I heard of it, but we actually have one in our inventory.
Oh, no kidding.
The smartest talking clock that runs on electricity, and it can tell the time and tell what the date is, right?
Yeah, that's the one I had, Spidus. Yeah.
Yep. I've got one in the inventory, believe it or not. It's a very unusual item. I've never seen anything quite like it before or since. But we do have one, and it still works really good, and it functions perfectly. The only thing that's wrong with this one is, you remember there was a cover that you had to lift up that covered the buttons that you used to set the clock and date?
Yeah.
That cover is missing. Other than that, the device works fine and looks fine.
Okay.
So that, to answer your question, if anybody else on the line even knows about that product, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, Spidus. Right.
Yeah. I'm not sure I would have known about it, except we got one recently, and I was wondering if somebody comes along and is looking for it, they'll be surprised to discover that we actually have one. That's why I say you never know unless you ask. But we do have one. So if at some point you decide you want one and we haven't sold it to somebody else, give me a call or send me an email.
Yeah, okay. Well, I will think of that, Roger. I will think of that because that was a great clock. It didn't last a lot of years, but the voice went on it after a few years.
Well, this one, the voice still works fine, and it's a very nice, clear male voice, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And it still works fine. Plus, it has a nice, for someone who has vision, it has a nice, clear, large display, which there's a light on it that can be turned on or off.
Oh, yeah.
And its alarm is really good, and it also has one of those things that you can activate it and make it ring chimes or something on the hour, if I remember correctly.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what my clock did.
It also has a backup battery, so once you set the clock, if you keep a 9-volt battery, a good one, connected inside the clock, if you have a power outage, you won't lose your settings.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly right.
So if we do, whoever we sell the clock to, we'll get it with a new 9-volt battery installed.
Right.
How much is that selling for? I'm sorry.
I don't actually know what the price is, to be honest. I'd actually have to look that up.
Right.
I don't think it's been priced yet. We just recently got it in, and I think we've gone over it, but I don't think it's been priced yet. Right. But I do know that it's a very difficult item to find.
Mm-hmm.
And that sometimes affects the price, but it'll be within reach.
Mm-hmm.
Roger, my second question was, have you ever dealt with talking bathroom scales?
Oh, yeah, it's a good question.
We've had a few, but the truth is there's several that are widely available. In fact, I just learned something interesting.
Yeah.
A friend of mine went on Amazon and bought one, and she told me there were 5 or 6 different models available even through Amazon at fairly reasonable prices, between like $40 and $80. I mean,
oh, wow.
That's good.
Wow.
We can't compete with that. I mean, why would we?
No.
Yeah.
And she ended up buying one for $46 that speaks in English, French, and Spanish.
Ooh, sounds good to me. Wow.
So I would suggest, you can go to Amazon, or you can go to that other place that I love so much, and most of you folks know about it, Speak to Me.
Oh, right.
And
I
know she's got at least 2 talking bathroom scales in her most recent catalog that I heard anyway, and her prices for most of her stuff are pretty reasonable. Some I'm not sure about, but she has a lot of really cool stuff that's fairly inexpensive. So, I mean, some of her stuff isn't, but a lot of it is. And the really inexpensive stuff are things that we probably wouldn't carry because you can get them elsewhere, like talking thermometers are pretty widely available now.
Yeah.
And they're pretty inexpensive, most of them.
Mm-hmm. That's good to know.
However, the one thing I will tell you is that we've got a big search on right now for talking color identifiers because they're still pretty expensive. And we're trying to track down some that people don't want, they want to get rid of or whatever.
What
would you recommend? What would you recommend for the best one? I mean, if you had a choice of which one.
Price-wise, the only one that I really like, and there's a few others, the only one I really like is the Colorino.
Colorino?
Colorino, Colorino.
Yeah.
It sells for close to $200 new, and it's quite good. The problem is that's quite a bit of money for
it is.
ice that, was kind of like a one-trick pony. I'm not saying it wouldn't be good or that it isn't worth it, but if you got $200 to spend, my guess is you might spend it on something else that can do more for you.
Yeah, probably.
But if you get it for $75 or $85, you might be a little more inclined. So we're trying to track down some Colorinos and a few other kinds that work pretty well. There's a product that Cobalt Technologies in England, I think they may still make it. They were selling one that you could get through Speak to Me for around $130 or $140. We had one of those a few months ago and sold it for about $70. So, things come and go, and color identifiers are items that a lot of people are looking for. And for a while, people were looking for talking money identifiers, but with that program that developed through the National Library Service, anybody who wants one can get one and get it for free. So we tend not to deal with money identifiers unless if somebody came along with one of those Bright Tech devices. They're made in Canada, I think. They're pretty good, but they're also really expensive. So if somebody had really wanted one of those and we managed to come up with one at a reasonable price, I'm sure we'd sell it. But, why would you do that when you can get the Orbit Research one works great and it's free. So, we try to pay attention to the trends and what's going on and not to duplicate services. I don't know of anybody else in the country that's doing what we're doing. That doesn't mean to say no one's doing it. But with the exception of Perkins Braille repair, and there's at least a dozen places to do that, I don't know anyone that's repairing this older technology and reselling it at relatively affordable prices. If any of you know about it, I'd like to know.
I'll let you know if I find out.
Yeah, I have a question. This is Marcy. What about a GPS? GPS?
There's only two GPSs that I like. One of them is the Trekker Breeze. I use that myself, and I love that. And their price has come down quite a bit from what it used to be, but it's still expensive. But we occasionally get those. The other one is the Cap-10, the Kapten.
I've heard of that, yeah.
And it actually is a little more modern than the Trekker Breeze. It's about the same price new, $600. That's a lot of money, I think.
Yeah.
But it does quite a few things the Trekker Breeze doesn't do, including it has a Daisy book player built into it.
Really?
Which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
It also allows you to what's the word I want to use? To program it with your voice rather than having to use buttons.
Oh, yeah.
And that's kind of a nice feature. The Trekker Breeze is a little tricky to use, but once you get used to using it, it's quite reliable. It does a great job. In fact, there used to be a website you could go to download free maps for the device, and I noticed a couple of months ago that website has gone. And somebody called me and said, I want to buy a Trekker Breeze if you guys had one, but I changed my mind because that free maps are gone now and I can't update it. So I did a little bit of research, and guess what I discovered? The maps really are available. Humanware has just updated all 24 maps that cover the United States, and you can download them. There is a price. It's $20 to download all 24 maps, or you can buy the CD to run on your computer and take the maps that you need when you need them for $30. And I just bought the disc and just came in the mail yesterday. So that's a very useful device. And the great thing about those two devices, the Trekker Breeze and the Cap 10, is that they don't rely on the Internet. They don't rely on a product that has no buttons, like the iPhone. And they include walking GPS, public transportation GPS, and driving GPS.
Sounds wonderful.
Oh, that would be wonderful. And I graduated with Bob. I have sight, but I get lost occasionally.
Good club.
So they keep knocking down the buildings here in Boston. It drives me crazy.
I know.
I will tell you with the updated maps, and I haven't looked at them yet, and I haven't installed them, but I'm going to be traveling in a day after tomorrow, and I'll be using the new maps on the Trekker Breeze, and I may send a note to Bob and let him know how it worked with the new maps. But we occasionally get those. I haven't seen any Captains, but I have seen a couple of Trekker Breezes. In fact, one of them came through, and I grabbed it because I'd been looking for one. And the price was pretty irresistible compared to a brand new one.
So that does the whole country, you said, with like public transportation and all that?
It does the whole country, but you can only run 4 maps at a time.
Oh, yeah.
But the maps cover a pretty big area. Like one of the maps that I've installed covers all of New England. So, in 4 maps, you could cover most of the East Coast.
Yeah.
So let me just ask, I will keep that in mind because we occasionally get them, and I'll let Bob know if we get any because some of you seem to have some interest in that. Are there any other questions or comments?
Roger, this is Lauren again. I wanted to go back to the color identifier. I read in the last issue of our special magazine from National Braille Press that there's a color identifier from England, and it's only $65.
It might be a new version of the one that has been selling for quite a bit more money. They may have found a way to reduce the price.
Yeah, they said that you can call them in England directly, and you get the chance to talk to the man and his wife, and it's $65. So I was thinking about buying one.
Here's what you do, Lauren. I don't get our special. I used to get tons of mags, but they just pile up, and I can't keep up with them.
I wasn't expecting that you would get a woman's magazine.
I don't know why not. I have 3 daughters. Why wouldn't I want to know what young ladies and not so young ladies are into these days? But here's what to do. If you think of it, send me an email or call me sometime other than this evening, and just give me the information that you read about in the magazine, because I'd like to follow up on that myself.
Okay, sure, because it's in the column it's called Going Shopping, and that's what the person who does that column, that's what she had this month. So,
that sounds great, Lauren. I'd like to know more about that. So thanks for mentioning that. And I'm sure there are people on the line that would want to know more about it, too. And believe me, if I hear about something and somebody calls me, whether we carry it or not, I'll always tell you what I know.
Yeah. And I think I have a color identifier. If you want it, you can have it. I'll check out what I have because, I'm not using that. So
if you're not using it or you don't need it and you'd like to see it into the hands of somebody who might, give me a call or send me an email and let me know. We really try to work with people in whatever their situation is, and we're trying to be as helpful and reach as many people as we can. So anything you can do. And like I said, we don't ask for money. We don't ask for donations. We're happier to get stuff that people don't want, whether it works or whether it doesn't.
Yeah, so and this works. I just don't use it.
Yeah. Thank you for your interest, and be in touch with me off the line at some point, and we'll work something out. Anyone else have any other questions or comments before we wrap it up?
Yes, I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
Do you ever repair Braille watches at all?
We don't have any currently. We don't currently have any Braille watches. It doesn't mean to say we won't ever get any, but we don't currently have any. And the Braille watches that I would be most likely to look for, to tell you the truth, because we occasionally get asked for them, is Braille pocket watches.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes we get asked for that very rare item, which I think hasn't been made for years, and that's the Braille stopwatch.
Oh, yeah.
Gee, I've never seen that.
I used to have one, and I sure wish I still had it. It's just really cool.
Yeah.
So those are the items we might have requested. People have requested, and as of now, we don't have any. But you never know. Tomorrow, I could get a note from somebody saying, "Hey, I've got this, and I want to get rid of it." We'd take it.
Well, my husband had a Braille pocket watch, and what I did is I have it on a chain now, and I can wear it around my neck because he did it 3 years ago. So that way I have it. I don't use it, but I just use it as a piece of jewelry. So
the only problem with watches is that we don't repair them. So if we've got something in working condition, we'll turn it around and sell it. But we do not repair watches. They're almost impossible to repair unless you're a jeweler.
Yeah,
and that's something we are not.
Right.
So, but if I got a talking watch, if somebody sent us a talking watch or said, "Hey, you can have it for $5 or whatever," we'd probably turn around and let people know we had it. But generally speaking, if an item is less than $50, we generally don't deal with it too much because we can't really charge enough even to pay ourselves back for whatever we've invested in it. So the kinds of items we like to sell, are usually $75 or more. And usually they tend to be in the realm, for the most part, of Braille or talking note takers or similar items like that. Talking dictionaries. We have a few Braille embossers. If somebody is interested in buying a Braille embosser and doesn't have several $1,000s to spend, we've got a couple of Braille embossers at a little bit more reasonable prices. So that kind of stuff we also have.
You do Braille printers ever?
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, I'm sorry. Embossing.
No, don't be sorry. They get called Braille printers or Braille embossers, but it's the same thing. Yeah. We have 2 or 3 of them. I know for sure about one that we've got. It's from a company that actually makes its own embossers, and it's in the United States. Most of these machines are made overseas, but this one is made by a company called View Plus, and it's a nice embosser. It runs with Windows, runs off Windows 7, and it's especially designed not only to do good Braille, but very good graphics as well. And it's like new.
Wow.
So that machine sells new for $4,000. Yeah. I think our price, I don't exactly remember, but it's somewhere between $1,500 and $1,900. That's
my God, that's wonderful.
I mean, that's still a lot of money, but it's a lot less than a new one.
Yeah.
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 And, and this one is, honestly, I can tell you, because I know where it came from, it's never been used. Wow. It's just been tested.
Wow.
So, that's something to think about, too.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions, Bob? Is there anything more I can provide, or should I reiterate the phone number to reach us if you have questions or needs or whatever is 603-827-3859. That's 603-827-3859. Or you can send email to me at the number 1nationundersound@gmail.com. That's the number 1nationundersound@gmail.com. I'm not going to give the address because I'm guessing that some of you may want it, but you might not have something handy to write it down. Easier just to call me up, and when you're ready, I can tell you over the phone, and you can write it down. Mm-hmm. But we'll take anything you want to get rid of. If you got something like a Braille and Speak or Type and Speak or whatever that needs some attention, we can probably do it for you for probably, based on the last rates I heard quoted by Freedom Scientific, when they would even do it, our rates were about half what theirs were.
Wow.
So keep us in mind if we can help you. If you're looking for something, let us know. We might have it, or we might be able to get a line on it for you.
Okay, well, you said you'll be traveling this week, right?
I am traveling this week. But you can still call.
Okay.
You can still call, and even if I'm not presently here physically, you can leave a message, and I will get the message from my partner in the recording studio, who is always here, and she's nice to you. I like talking with her. Mm-hmm. And her name is Jane, and she's very personable, and she's also a teacher of the visually impaired, so she understands the field really well, and she's worked in the field for almost 40 years.
Okay, well, maybe Bob can send an email with that information for us.
Yeah, if he's willing to do that, that would be good.
Bob, are you willing to send Roger's information to us?
Bob? Uh-oh.
Did I put him to sleep? I
don't know where he went.
I don't know where he went.
It's going to be a long recording because he went way over your... That's nice, though, because I was glad we could talk to you.
You've all been so nice and had great questions, and it was interesting for me, too. That's the other thing. You ask really interesting questions and good ones and things that relate to exactly what we do, and the very kind of things that we do are the stuff that you asked about. So it's, it was totally appropriate. And it's been fun for me, and I'm glad that, I had this chance, and I'm very grateful to Bob Branco for giving me this chance to come back and visit with you and talk on another subject. And maybe, if things work out on another project I'm working on, maybe in a year from now, I'll be able to come and talk to you about something totally different from my last two visits to the Bob Branco project.
Any hints on that?
I'll give you a hint. It has to do with maybe recording a commercial CD.
Oh, wow.
My own music.
Wow.
I'll be in touch.
My own music. And I'm pretty excited about it. We're going to have to see how it goes, but if it works out right, that's one of the things I'll be working on in the coming year.
Do you take advertising on your website?
We haven't. If you want us to talk
I'll be in touch with you about
shoot me offline.
Yeah.
We haven't.
Good idea.
It's good, yeah.
It is a good idea, or it might be a good idea. Yeah. We'll see.
All righty. Yeah.
Who's willing to entertain
line afterwards.
Yeah.
So I wonder if Bob is back yet.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
I wonder what happened.
Do you think I might have put him to sleep?
I doubt.
You know what? My other phone.
I'm seeing the other phone.
I'll call him on my other phone.
Oh yeah. Poor Bob. I hope I didn't lose him.
I know.
I have a feeling.
It was so nice to invite me to come on, and I hope I didn't in some way offend.
Could have happened.
I doubt it.
What?
Well, I just keep talking because he's going to be on YouTube at some point, assuming he stops the recording.
Hardly wait to see what happens. Yeah. It was pretty good that Jose does this.
Oh, I think that's awesome.
Yeah. I'm going to have to send him an email and thank him for coming up with the idea and encouraging Bob to do this, because I think it really expands the value of what you're all trying to do, and it makes it available and accessible to many more people, many people that otherwise might not even know about it.
Yep.
Well, guys, I'm not sure what to do, but it's probably time for me to bid you all good evening.
All right.
Have to be on the road early tomorrow for some other work before I travel.
Not answering the other phone.
Oh, this isn't good.
I hope he's all right.
Yeah, I know.
See, I'll call Amy.
Yeah. But,
not like him.
No, it's
not like
No, that's from usual, because I was expecting to say time's running out.
Yeah, let me call Amy.
I hope I didn't offend him in some way.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think it's something like that.
I doubt it. I wouldn't see why. I don't see. It's very enlightening, I think.
Controversial. I just hope he's all right.
Yeah,
Hey, where's Bob?
Hello. Oh no.
Hey, because we haven't heard him say the show was ended, and we still have the speaker on, the guest on.
Yep.
Yeah, so we'd know. A little concerned. I think maybe I'm going to stay on till we find out what happened.
I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Because Bob is very reliable about this.
I know.
Yes,
Very.
it is.
What do you think we should do? Just hang up?
Well, you could, but I think
No, I don't.
Oh,
think
wait.
so.
I want to know when there's a take
Oh,
on
wait.
it. He stops the recording, you know, because
well, I think all of us.
Everybody, hold on, Amy.
this is
He fell asleep.
Oh.
So everybody at once has to scream to see if we can wake him up. Aww.
If that's the
Bob, wake up!
case, as long as he's all right, I'm going to get going, and I'm going to thank all of you for being so wonderful and so great with me.
Amy.
I wish I could meet you all and talk with you all in person. In the meantime, you know how to reach me. Feel free to call.
I want to thank you very much. It was very enlightening.
It was awesome. I'm really glad
Good night, Roger.
Well, spread the word, guys. That's what
I will.
We will.
Tell everyone you know and spread the word and give them the information and have them get in touch, okay?
Oh, I will.
Roger.
Ladies and gentlemen, all of you, thank you so much for treating me so great and making me feel so welcome. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
You all have a good evening, and I suspect many of us will be talking again soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look forward to hearing from you, Lauren.
Okay.
And are you still there, Karen?
Yes,
Karen, give me a call in the next day or so.
I certainly will.
Jane and I would really like to have a chance to talk with you. We
I
talked
know,
about you
but we haven't in a long time. I just.
Oh, it's been too long. So give us a call, okay?
I certainly will. Yep. I'll be
Talk
there.
with you soon, and the rest of you, thank you again.
Yeah, I'll be in touch, Roger. Yeah.
Good night now.
Roger.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, I hope he gets this recording because
I hope so.
I think he will.
I hope so.
I have to tell you my experience.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Steve, have you been on the new bus that's been out for 3 weeks?
Not that I recall. I might have not known it, but
none of the seats on the bus. They're all sideways.
Oh yeah,
I've
been on those. Yeah, I have been on one.
I don't like them.
Yeah. You don't like them, or you do like them?
I don't like them.
No.
Like the trains are the same way. Some of them, the seats are all sideways, or they have double deckers in the Fitchburg, and I'm not crazy about them.
No.
You can't see. I can't find my what do you call it? Landmarks if I'm sitting sideways.
Oh.
Yeah, I know.
And it doesn't talk. He didn't.
Really?
Usually when the bus goes by the streets.
Call the MBTA and bitch about it.
Okay.
Even though it's not your job,
strange.
you call that. I'll give you the number and say, hey, I'm having trouble with the buses. Who do I call? Because he's in charge of the.
They are supposed to announce a stop.
Yeah, they are. Really? What route were you on?
I was en route. It was 34.
34 was. I've been on that. Not lately.
34.
Yeah, you can call. Just tell the T, and I know you'll be nice about it. And just say, hey, that they didn't have announced it. Sometimes it's mechanical problems, but the bus driver is supposed to announce it if the thing's not
I had
working.
a fantastic bus driver going into Forest Hills. He made sure that I he lowered the thing so I would be lined up on the sidewalk. So
he kneeled the bus, they call it. Yeah.
Yeah, he did that. He asked me if I was okay because he didn't stop at the regular spot because the bay was all filled with buses.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a problem.
And I said, well, yeah, I kind of know where I am, but I'll just follow the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, no, I'll get someone to escort you. And I said, no, I have some vision. He says, no, there's too many people here.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, on the commuter rail, I come in, they have the announcement, and the drivers and the conductors are like, so if you miss your stop, that means you were asleep. Because they're like, ruggles, and the announcement's working, and it's like, hey, at least I know. Well, I count my stops, but...
Well, usually in the Pittsburgh trains, the announcers work, but if you're in a certain car...
Yeah, the noise, too.
Hear them.
Yeah, that's like the subway. Sometimes it's so noisy you don't hear. You say, what did he say? What did
I know it.
Well, loud. It's like, ouch.
Well, luckily, I know my stops on the red line, so.
Oh yeah, the red line. I know that like back of my hand, except when it comes to the branches. But
When it comes to
I'm starting to think the blood has apnea.
Yeah, I've been thinking of that too lately. That I wonder about that.
Oh.
I was talking to Amy at the restaurant about it.
Well, he might not.
Well, I can talk to him. We were talking one day, and I was taking information down. I was writing. All of a sudden, it's silent, and then you go, which is kind of breathing.
I've heard him do that, and he said, I'm not asleep. I guess when you don't know you fell asleep. I've done that myself. I'd be like,
I've done that.
What happened to the 3 hours? It's like 3 a.m? Whoa. I'm listening to
He shouldn't be making a noise if he falls asleep and he wakes up.
That's a bad sign. Yeah, I would definitely check into that if I was him. Because
I've mentioned, no. So I have to figure out how to get him to get a sleep.
Yeah, but the thing is, he may want to, he may not want to yet. So that's
if it makes that sharp noise, it's not good.
No, it's not. No. I've heard it myself, and I thought it was him.
It is him. I know it's him.
I know it's him too because I knew you had sleep apnea. I said, "Oh, Marcy, you're asleep." So I'm awake. He's like, "No, it was Bob," and he falls asleep. I think a lot.
Yeah, he does.
And he says, I wasn't sleeping. But that's happened to me. Like I said, I didn't even know I fell asleep. And I said, what time is it? And it's like, I had to fall asleep. It's 3 hours later. And I thought it was like 5 minutes ago.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's something else probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even Amy says the same thing because I described to her.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something, especially now. You don't want to fool with it.
No way.
No, you don't.
Yeah, no, I tried to get him earlier because I wanted to tell him about my experience in physical therapy.
Oh, yeah.
Did she torture me today?
I hate
Oh, gee.
Yeah.
Well, my arm is so frozen, it's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Now, did she do massage as well, Marcy?
Well, today was the first real, we did a val and a little bit of physical therapy. No, she heated up the arm.
Oh, you had the CAT scan thing you said?
What? I had the X-ray.
Uh-huh.
With the CAT scan, and then today was like my first day of physical therapy.
When they put that,
how many are you going to have in a week? I mean, how many times are you going to have in a week? How many times are you going to have in a week?
Twice a week.
Not
the
enough.
6 weeks start.
That should be enough.
Oh, all right.
That's right.
And
it makes you feel hot when they put that in you. It's like,
yeah.
I hated it.
Oh.
Oh, man.
I think
it really freaks me out.
Like that. Never had one like that.
I did. When I did CAT scans, and they told me, so you're going to feel hot. And I was like, oh, God, I think I'm going to pass out.
Yeah.
I had a bone scan once, and that's nothing.
No, I never had a bone.
No, to check my bones.
Uh-huh.
Well, being over 60, they wanted to check them.
Oh, yeah.
Bone scan isn't bad.
Nah, I don't know.
Well, that's nothing.
No.
And I had a CAT scan once when I had some nose surgery, and that was nothing.
Oh, that's good. It's not a big deal, but at the time, it's like, wow, this is a weird feeling. I hate hospitals anyway, but gotta do what you gotta do. Yeah, who does?
I worked in one. It was better to work in one than to be a patient.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Imagine.
Oh, yeah. But then
I saw all kinds of stuff, and people go, "Oh, how can you see all of this? Play with the kids, and then the next day the person's dead."
I know that sucks, but hospitals,
It only affected me deep once.
Yeah.
And that's because Karen didn't. Her name was also Karen, and they just didn't have lungs for her.
Oh, yeah.
And she got. And I actually went to see her before they plugged.
Yeah.
And that was a very creepy experience. Knowing that I won't see her tomorrow because they're going to pull the plug.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was probably the first thing that ever freaked me out.
Uh-huh.
And the other thing was I went intensive care and I was looking for a card for one of the patients, and the patient died.
Oh.
And I didn't, and it didn't click to me that the word expired meaning that they died.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was under so much pressure that day.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was interesting. But the bus is really weird.
Yeah.
It's got less handlebars, which I wouldn't touch.
The conference.
I know. I know.
I think they're rubber. And then they have these bars